Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky!
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Name the dog, Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in pints?
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, wishing you a Merry Christmas. And with me is my favorite, potentially figurative, but mostly literal friend, Frank. How are you today?
Good. Your literal friend, I hope.
I was going to say Santa Claus.
Oh, okay.
But then I opted to say Frank instead.
Cool. All right.
Which made your introduction slightly confusing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm figuratively your friend. Cool. That's cool.
Well, friendship is an intangible thing, Frank. Really, only quite actually making it kind of figurative.
Okay.
It doesn't diminish the power of the friendship between us.
All right.
But, you know, it does just change things just ever so slightly.
Well, it works. It works when you believe in it. It's the more you believe, the more it's. What are you drinking, Tim?
I
don't really know where that was going.
Frank, I loved Broze Oatmeal Milk Stout so much that I actually went out and got more.
No kidding.
Yeah. So I actually do highly recommend it because it is like a warm blanket, or if you happen to miss oatmeal. It's one of those drinks where you're like, if I lived in a different country that accepted beer in the morning as breakfast, this is a good breakfast.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it is an oatmeal stout, I guess. So there is that. That's great. That's great. I'm glad
So
you're
good.
enjoying that.
I am so much.
I really need to get more of the I as of this recording, which is a little bit before Christmas, I have not had a chance to go out and get a bunch of like the Christmassy beers that I enjoy, which is a lot of Belgians and sort of the deep winter beers. But what I have been enjoying as of late is this really nice beer from Great Rhythm Brewing Company, and it is their Haulin Oats, not Hall and Oats, but Haulin, like hauling oats,
That's fun.
oatmeal stout, and it is silky and smooth, and it's got this nice malt flavor to it. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. So I'm enjoying that one today.
That sounds excellent. I'm gonna. Is that super local? Like, can't get it near me, kind of local?
You should be able to get it. Yeah, I would think you can get it.
That sounds good. You know how I love building up my seasonal beers in my fridge, only to drink them past the season, Frank.
Yeah,
so
no. You know what? You get your hands on this pretty soon, and in February you're gonna love it.
Fan freaking ta- Although stouts are still okay for February.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking like, oh, can't wait to drink the 6 remaining stouts I have in June.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
Why do I still have Oktoberfest?
Yeah, that's me, baby.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, I have beer. I feel at this point in my life, I'm like, I think I only drink beer when I talk to you. So when I do this show, mostly that's because the beer is now in my office where I record, as opposed to being in my fridge in the kitchen. So it's just a different. It's like I don't open the fridge and be like, I do want this beer. I actually have to go to a completely different part of the house to get it, and so it just
I have
changes
this thing.
The vibe.
I have this thing where I'll buy a beer and then I'll save one of them to drink on the show with you, but the rest I'll drink whenever I get a chance. And so I'm like, oh, I can't drink that one today because I'm saving that one for Beer with Geeks and I'm saving that one for. Oh gosh, okay, I need to buy a whole other. I guess I just buy drinking beer and then podcasting beer. I don't really know what to do now because I've got a corner of there's 3 of them here that I'm saving to to have on the show, and then there's a bunch that I guess I'll just have these for like casual drinking.
I actually kind of did that too. I went for the like, okay, so you pick 6, so I like picked 6, like that looked good, and I was like, I'll also get the omission or whatever,
sure,
as the whenever I feel like a beer, I'll have one. But then like sometimes when I'm on the show, I'm like, I actually don't want the grapefruit or the IPA or the whatever. I want the omission. I want something light. So that like plan just went directly out the window. Like, so
it's funny.
We try different things. It's fine. Frank, we're here with a very special Christmas episode because it's Christmas. And on Christmas, we like to do fun Christmas episodes. And I thought this time that we should talk about all of the Santa Clauses that have existed out there in the media of some kind that we might have some kind of exposure to, here, there, and everywhere. Because they're, what Christmas movies are, or Christmas television programs are an essential part of the staying in the holiday spirit. And I think part of the fun is making them do battle with each other and seeing who actually ranks the best out of all of them, because that's what Christmas is all about, finding out who is the best. Anyway, we have here a bracket.
Blood sport.
We have here a bracket from 10. Did I send you 10 different actors?
I think it's 12.
12, yes.
Like the 12 Days of Christmas.
Exactly. 12 different actors, live action and voice actors, who have played jolly old Saint Nick at some point in their career. And I want to say who is the most Santa Clausy of the Santa Clauses. So I think that before we go into what the list is, like who makes up these characters, because I could say, like, I don't want to say like what Santa Claus could beat up the other Santa Clauses,
sure,
because that's a different conversation. But who is the most Santa Claus? Of these Santa Clauses?
Okay, I like these ground rules.
Okay, but we need to determine before this what actually makes a good Santa Claus. Because we might have different ideas about what that is. And so I just going to need to step away for 1 second to get a pen. So you talk.
Okay. I think that this is a good place to start, because we should be thinking of it. Yeah. Not who would win in a fight, but who has more of the holiday spirit, who has the glint in their eye, who
okay, well, you're saying you're saying
oh, I'm
things.
sorry, I didn't realize you were taking notes.
Okay, yeah, I just came back with my pen.
Okay,
because I'm old school, even though I have like all these computers and wires set up in front of me. I'm like, and an iPad
but why do that?
That's currently not being occupied, but I'm going to use the pad and paper because that's what Santa would do.
There you go.
Probably.
So there you go. That's another one. Who would use pen and paper? Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Who? No. Who? All right. So what actually makes a good Santa Claus? You said glint in the eye.
Yeah. Glint in the eye, but more like they're jolly. They bring the Christmas spirit. They spread Christmas cheer.
A Christmas spirit. Okay. So that's a lot of things that are actually wrapped up into one. So they have a glint in their eye, which I think is an actually important like physical characteristic of Santa. Jolly, bring the Christmas spirit. Quality beard.
Yes.
I think that's actually an important part of being Santa. Looks good in red.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. There is an indistinguishable. Does this work? Do they have the look? There are the specifics, and then there's the intangible as well.
I'm going to say good with kids.
Mm-hmm.
An important part of being Santa Claus.
Earnestness.
Earnestness, yeah, right. The truthfulness of Santa. Good. I'm going to say good sleigh skills, or like good with the animals.
Sleigh all day.
Animals. Sleigh all day. Yeah. Okay. I'd say that's a good enough.
I think
list,
those are good criteria.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe earnest. Maybe charitable is probably the last one. Actually.
Okay. Cool.
Because that's actually what Santa is all about. So,
That's right.
Yeah, it's not just about being jolly, it's about being charitable, which is actually part of the Christmas spirit. So I'll separate those into 2 separate categories. So we have 8 categories: glint in the eye, jolly, quality beard, looks good in red, good with kids, earnest, good sleigh skills, and charitable. These are the things that absolutely matter in our lineup. So should I say who everybody that we're going for in here?
List them off real quick, yeah, and then we'll re-encounter them as we go through the bracket.
Excellent. Okay, so this is. Did you change anybody from what the list I've given you? All right, here we go then. Tim Allen from The Santa Claus, Ed Asner from Elf, Richard Attenborough from Miracle on 34th Street, Alec Baldwin from Rise of the Guardians, Tom Hanks from The Polar Express, Mickey Rooney from Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Kurt Russell from The Christmas Chronicles, John Call from Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, James Cosmo from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Stan Francis from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Edmund Gwen from Miracle on 34th Street, and Paul Frees from Frosty the Snowman. I tried to be as diverse as possible, old and pretty new, actually. Kurt Russell's Christmas Chronicles are just in the last few years. So let's start. You made the bracket, so let's start wherever you actually want to start.
Okay. Round 1. Tim Allen from The Santa Claus versus Ed Asner from Elf.
Okay, so let's just start with Tim Allen. Does Tim Allen Santa Claus, not Scott Calvin, but
Right.
he has to be Santa by the very end.
His Santa at the end.
Does he have a glint in his eye?
Yes.
I would say that he does. He's really got Santa Claus and he's like that whole scene in the
embraces
prison.
It. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. He embraces it. He's softened. He's spreading Christmas cheer. He's got the glint in his eye. He's got the good beard. Looks good in red.
He does. He's jolly.
Yep.
Good with kids, obviously. Like that's the whole point. He is earnest because that's the whole point of his character arc. In that, from beginning to end, that he is finally truthful in who he is with Charlie and everything like that. So he is top marks earnest at that point. It's you see that on display. He's fine. He's good. He's got good sleigh skills. He's got a sweet sleigh, actually.
Yep.
It's got a
CD.
He's got a CD player.
No. Coconut.
Oh no, CD. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, out pops a cookie. Compact disc. All right. That's what I was.
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah. And then, is he charitable?
Well, I mean, he brings the mystery date game, so
yeah, perfect.
And the weenie whistle.
Weenie whistle. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so good marks. Ed Asner's Elf. Does he got a glint?
Not really.
Not really. It's kind of curmudgeon-y.
He is kind of a curmudgeon,
actually.
yeah.
His beard's kind of wispy, actually.
It's fine.
It's okay. It's an okay beard. He looks pretty good in red, though.
He does.
He rocked the red. Yep. He's unknown if he's good with kids, actually. We don't really see him interact with children. Just Buddy, really.
Yeah, and Buddy's, his brother.
Yeah. I would say that he's earnest, but maybe not in the way that Santa is supposed to be earnest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't listen to Leroy. He doesn't have any feet.
Yeah.
I've been in New York thousands of times. But also he's never really revealed the truth to Buddy at all.
Right. True.
Yeah. And I would say that he's charitable. Charitable enough, but certainly by the end, he obviously gave Buddy a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
So he's quite charitable. But in all the ranks, Tim Allen is a better Santa Claus than Ed Asner.
I would agree.
Get out of here, Ed Asner. You television legend.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Okay.
All right. So Tim Allen lives to be Santa another day. Let's go on to another round here. We have Richard Attenborough from the 90s Miracle on 34th Street versus Alec Baldwin from Rise of the Guardians. I have not seen Rise of the Guardians.
Okay, I'm going to make this really easy then.
Yeah.
Not Alec Baldwin.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah, which is actually a really fun Santa Claus, but he's more like burly Axeman Russian Santa Claus. Like he's like giving, and he's actually got a really good glint and all that stuff, but he's more a characterization of like a superhero Santa instead of like what you would classify as a traditional Santa Claus.
Burly Russian axeman. I don't know. I don't understand how that doesn't win. Really? You sure? You sure that
I mean,
doesn't
if
win?
they were all truthfully, if they were all fighting, he would win. There's
fair.
no doubt
Fair.
he
So
would
if it was
actually be the
Bloodsport,
winner.
If it was
Bloodsport, there is Alec Baldwin's Santa
Okay.
Claus. But no, it's absolutely Richard Attenborough. He's got the glint. He's jolly, and we'll talk about him as we go on.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
All right, give me your next one.
Kurt Russell from the Christmas Chronicles versus John Call from Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. I've not seen either of these.
Me either.
Not in their entirety.
Me either.
I
kind of put them on as jokes in their own way because I've seen Kurt Russell. I've seen a picture of him in the Christmas Chronicles as
seen
Santa.
Footage. I've seen trailers and stuff. And then I've seen part of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians because I was at a Christmas party at a friend's house a couple of years ago and he put this movie on in the background.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it was. It's horrible, but in a Mystery Science Theater kind of way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and give it to Kurt Russell just from the little information that I have.
Same. Actually, his beard is top quality, and he's definitely got a glint in his eye, and that's really all I was basing that off of.
Yeah.
So definitely Kurt Russell for the Christmas Chronicles.
All right, right
no problem there.
All right, that's an easy one. Let's move on to James Cosmo from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe versus Stan Francis from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer animated special.
Okay, I'm going to make this really clear also as well. Not Stan Francis.
Not Stan Francis.
Because he is the meanest Santa. He is the worst Santa Claus. Oh, my God.
Besides, nobody likes a skinny Santa, you know?
No one likes a skinny Santa. Yeah, so he's not round enough. Actually, that wasn't on our list. I guess that there's no shaking his belly like a bowl full of jelly. It ain't going to happen. But like he's not really charitable. He's like, oh, I gotta cancel Christmas. Like, oh well. But also is like, your son is weird. Cover that nose up.
Terrible.
And he is the actual worst.
Yeah.
And I love his song. Jingle, 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 you will hear my sleigh bells ring. So I guess he's got good sleigh skills, actually.
Yeah.
Not great sleigh skills, though, because he's not as great without Rudolph, apparently.
You've been doing this for how many years? And it finally was like, oh, no, it's too dark and I can't see. Like really? Come on.
Yeah. Shut up, Stan Francis Rudolph. Stan Francis Santa. James Cosmo's Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe we'll talk about when we get to the next round, I think. But, so we don't duplicate anything.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, speaking of duplicating, we are
duplicating.
We have another.
That was my Aladdin reference.
Oh my gosh! Wow, thank you. Wow, amazing. We have Buzz Lightyear versus Woody. We have Tom Hanks from the Polar Express.
Oh, that's so fun.
versus Tim Allen from the Santa Claus.
That's awesome. Okay, so I might have said this on the podcast before, but I think the Polar Express is a terrible film.
Ooh.
I love the Polar Express, the original book. It's a gorgeous book. It's a beautiful message. All of it is stunning.
It's been a long time since I've watched it.
The movie's scary. It's the dead eyes of the movie, and it's just a little look what we can do instead of like a solid narrative.
Yeah. Is that Zemeckis?
Yes, Zemeckis.
Yeah, because he was going through that phase at that time where he was like, everything was this 3D capture stuff.
Yeah, which I actually really like his Beowulf. That's a hot take for the community at large. I really like his Beowulf, and I really like his Christmas Carol.
I really don't like the Christmas Carol.
I know, a lot of people don't, and I don't like some of the look what we can do part of it, but I think the essence of it is really strong. The music is great. I think Jim Carrey is an excellent Scrooge. That's not the point of this bracket here. We can do Scrooges another year.
I would do that.
But Tom Hanks' Santa is actually quite good because
I think
of Tom Hanks.
Yeah. I think Tom Hanks' Santa is really, really good.
So he's got I would say that he has got a glint in his eye, but they all have dead eyes.
Well,
so he doesn't have a glint in his eye.
So that's NA on that one.
Yeah. He is kind of jolly. He's not a melancholy Santa, but he's a comforting Santa.
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
and
he's
that's
very
like,
warm and comforting.
very warm, so warm for a 3D image. He's got a quality beard, looks good in red,
Yep.
obviously good with kids, truthful. He's got good sleigh skills, charitable. He's got all that stuff. He's given all, like, I mean, the Polar Express in of itself is a good charitable act.
That's right.
So all of that together, is he better than Tim Allen's Santa Claus? I actually think that he is.
I kind of think so too. And even though it's a very brief cameo at the end of the movie, Tim Allen's being Santa is kind of brief at the end of the movie too.
It is. And as fun as Tim Allen Santa is, he's still Tim Allen as Santa.
Right.
Which he has all of these qualities, but Tom Hanks' Santa is actually Santa Claus.
Yeah.
It feels like Santa Claus far more than Tim Allen's take on the character.
Okay, so Tom Hanks advances to the next round. That brings us back to Richard Attenborough, who won the last round against Alec Baldwin. Now he's taking on Mickey Rooney from Santa Claus is Coming to Town.
Oh, man, that's like Mickey Rooney Santa also takes a long time to show up because he's Nick for a very long time. But he's got the glint. He's jolly. He's actually got two quality beards.
That's right.
Like, his red beard is majestic.
It is lush.
It is very lush. He looks good in red. They actually make comment on it in the film that he looks good in red. He's good with kids. He's extremely earnest, like to a fault. He's earnest. He's got great sleigh skills with animal skills. See Hopper for further detail.
Yes, that's right.
He's charitable. All of that stuff.
He checks all the right boxes.
But it takes a very long time for him to become classical Santa Claus.
Yep.
And by the time that he actually reaches that point, it's not really the focus of the film anymore. And so you don't really see the full embellishment of Santa.
Yeah. Yeah, where Richard Attenborough, I feel like, is very, like, right out the gate. You know, he is already, you know, he's already Santa. He's already Santa at the beginning of the movie, right? It's not an origin story in the same way. But also, I think and we're talking about claymation versus a live action performance, but still, I feel like he brings more of the classic. I think the earnestness is really what wins over. For me, I would give it to Richard Attenborough because of there is more earnestness and more of, like, you look at him and he believes he's Santa. Like, that's the whole point of the movie.
But I to go after this, so there's absolutely a glint. He's got a wonderful glint in his eye. He's got not a mean streak, but he's a realistic man.
Yes.
And so but he can still be jolly. He's got a good beard, not a great beard. It's a good beard.
It was the 90s.
He looks good in red. He looks good in red. He's wonderful with kids, more so than anybody that I think that we've talked about so far. That scene with the deaf girl, where he's like, "What would you like for Christmas?" And like it's just like I cry every time without fail because that to me is Santa. Like you can Coca-Colaize Santa all you want, but at the heart of the the secular Christmas season, that is Christmas. That is Santa right there. That connectivity. And so which gives him the earnestness. He's obviously got good sleigh skills. That's the whole reason he gets the job in the first place.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, at the Thanksgiving Day parade. And of course he is quite charitable. He gives them the house.
The house.
So freaking beautiful. At the end of the movie. And of course marriage after a midnight mass.
Of course.
So
we agree.
With no marriage license whatsoever.
No, well, I mean,
the ultimate act of charity.
Yeah.
Didn't pay the government a lick.
Details
for that wedding. So yeah, Richard Attenborough wins out over Mickey Rooney, whom I love. I like Santa Claus Coming to Town quite a bit. But
it's not for disliking Mickey Rooney by any stretch.
No.
Let's go back to James Cosmo, who won over San Francis. He won over the Santa from Rudolph, but can he take on the Santa Paul Frees from Frosty the Snowman? That's the real question.
What do you think?
No problem.
I think he totally can.
That's a decent Santa. He's not as bad as the Rudolph Santa, but he brings some of the warmth, and he brings some of the jollity, and he brings some of the earnestness, and he's all like, he's trying to help him save Frosty, but I don't think it really holds up to Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
No, actually, James Cosmo's Santa is quite lovely, and I think maybe we'll wait to talk about him until the next one, since he just won this round. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. Well, brings us back to Kurt Russell.
Okay.
And Kurt Russell versus Edmund Gwenn from the original Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay, well, I'm gonna just by the nature of like having seen the original Miracle on 34th Street and him being a fairly wonderful man, and not having seen Kurt Russell in the Christmas Chronicles, I'm going to give it to Gwen.
I'm going to agree and give it to Gwen. That movie, Miracle on 34th Street, is one of my... that original 1947, I think, version of Miracle on 34th Street is one of my favorite Christmas films. Watched it for years, usually on Thanksgiving night. With my family, we would watch it. So, like, I have the way that you talk about the 1994 Miracle on 34th Street, I feel about the original, and I love Edmund Gwenn. I don't necessarily think he's the best Santa ever. He doesn't have the best beard. He has a little bit of a different take. He's much more of a older British fellow, and it's not necessarily what I think of when I think of like Coca-Cola Santa, but he really sells it. And just he sells, and just the look on Natalie Wood's face whenever he enters a room, it just makes it it sells it.
Which means that he's good with kids.
Yep.
I guess he looks good in red. It being a black and white film, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to say. But he absolutely believes that he's Santa, like so deeply seriously, that it makes you believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So
all right, well.
So he advances past Kurt Russell, and this brings us now to, only a couple more rounds left. So we've got Tom Hanks versus Richard Attenborough and Edmund Gwenn versus James Cosmo. Let's start with Hanks Attenborough.
All right, well, Hanks, we said, is actually a marvelous Santa.
He is.
Like, he truly hits all the marks. However, he's dead on the outside. And that's a huge mark against him, I feel. And so, like, because also his screen time is so short, actually not, like, how much time, like, we don't get a sense of him as a character the same way that we get Richard Attenborough's.
Yeah.
And Attenborough really hits all the marks, except for maybe the beard quality. Hanks wins out, but truthfully, as it's the Polar Express that makes that Santa so good, because of the way the story dictates that Santa be. But it's Richard Attenborough that truly makes Santa come alive in 34th Street.
That's right. I totally agree.
Mostly because he is alive on the outside, so
that helps.
And on the inside. So I'm going to give it to Richard Attenborough. Progresses one more bracket
to the final
which
round.
Leaves us to. This is crazy. I knew it was going to... I feel like it was going to come to something close to this. So, Edmund Gwenn, we just talked about from the original Miracle on 34th Street, and James Cosmo from Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, whom we have not really discussed yet, who I think is a wonderful little Santa. He is also kind of weirdly the rugged Axeman Santa, because he chases the kid, the pregnancy kids down in the snow, and he gets out and his beard is bushy, like a big bushy beard.
It is.
And he gives them weapons, which is why, which is something slightly different for Santa and everything. And while he's jolly and obviously good with kids, and he's earnest and charitable and all of this stuff, he doesn't there's something about him that's not classic Santa. And so even though he actually has all of the qualities that make up Santa Claus in a very short amount of time, he might just not feel like the warm fuzzy blanket that is Santa Claus by the end. Though I do think that he's actually more like Santa than Edmund Gwenn's performance in Miracle on 34th Street discussed.
In some ways, I agree. In some ways, he does have more of those sort of classic. He has sort of, it's that indescribable quality. He has some of that. but he is a little more of a more serious. I don't. That's not really the word. Yeah, more austere.
I think the situation that he finds himself in is more serious.
Yeah.
So it kind of diminishes his jolliness.
Right.
Maybe because it's they're dealing with life and death situation here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep, I think that's right. I think that's right. So between the two, and I'm biased because I happen to like the original Miracle on 34th Street, but I'm leaning more towards Edmund Gwen. But where are you leaning?
I'm also leaning more towards Gwen, where I agree that he's a slightly more like, I'm a British fellow, Santa, but he is still more Santa than James Cosmo's Santa, where I would hazard a guess that James Cosmo might be the one to take Alec Baldwin in a fight.
Okay,
like him and
Kurt
Russell, like those would be the guys that I would say like you could probably win the fight. And so I would say like while he's good, he's quite good. The story he finds himself in does not exactly necessitate the warm blanket of Santa.
Yes,
so
it doesn't give him the opportunity to be that version of Santa.
Nope, it does not.
Yeah,
no, that's not a necessary part of his character. That part does not come out there. So it comes down to the Miracle on 34th Street Santas, which I think is actually quite fitting because it is their story. It is actually a story about Santa
That's
Claus,
right. Yeah,
and not Santa adjacent. And so, honestly, I know this is weird because I prefer Attenborough because of my feelings towards the 34.
Mm-hmm.
And you love the 94 34th Street, and you love the 47 34th Street. But you did say that you don't exactly feel like Gwen is the perfect Santa.
I don't feel he's the perfect Santa because of that. He almost plays it like he's an older British gentleman. It's almost like he's a member of the royal family or something. You know, it's like he's a minor royal. Especially at that time. So it's almost like he's the king that abdicated before
Edward.
Yeah. It feels almost like that. Like he's come down among us and he's like come down with the commoners. But there's something special about him. There's something royal about him, but he's among us. But he's very proper. I guess that's what it is. He's quite proper in a lot of ways. And he's playful. He's good with kids and he's playful. And you mentioned Richard Attenborough with the deaf girl. Edmund Gwen has his parallel to that scene with the Dutch girl, who doesn't speak any English, and when he can talk to her, it like is an eye-opening thing for everyone. So he's good with kids and he has a warmth, but he also has a properness to him that is not really what I'm used to in Santa. I have an emotional attachment to him because I think that because I enjoy watching the movie and I have nostalgia for it, but it's not, when I look at his performance, that aspect of it is a little, I don't want to say cold, but he doesn't always exude the warmth. He does when it matters, but he doesn't always exude the warmth. He's a little bit more proper in a lot of the time.
That's an excellent distinction. All right, so here's I will play the devil's advocate for Richard Attenborough, to which I would say there is a mean streak to Attenborough's thing, where he raises his cane a couple times is what gets him into trouble and all that stuff. He has a hot-blooded temper within him. However, Santa is a man that creates naughty and nice lists. And so like he is in actually a zone like a judgmental zone. Like that's part of the role of Santa Claus, to play judge, and in some ways a little bit executioner, right? Because he decides whether you are going to receive gifts or coal, whether you are worthy of his benevolence or you done messed up, son. And so, like, I think that if he's only warm, then there is no judgment there. He can't be. If there's only the love, like, that's not the role of Santa. Like, he actually has to be able to discern whether you're like a jerk or not a jerk. And like, so I think that there are nicer ways to do it, but this is a guy that frickin' will give you a lump of coal instead of a present if you're bad. So, I don't think that completely negates. I don't think the mean streak completely negates the Santaness.
Mm-hmm.
Though it can be a mark against him.
Sure. And Edmund Gwenn has that too, where he hits the psychiatrist on the head with his cane too, and like so he has the temper as well.
So I guess if they both have it, but Gwen is a little more stuffy Brit than warm knitted sweater Brit, the Richard Attenborough version.
Yep.
Does that mean that Richard Attenborough is the greatest Santa Claus of all time?
I think, it's to me it's almost counterintuitive, but I think Richard Attenborough just won our bracket.
Sir Richard Attenborough is the king. Woo-woo. He's the best. Woo! I feel like I could have told you that before we did this bracket.
Well, it just so happens that the outcome of the bracket coincides with your opinion. So
yeah.
So there you go.
And apparently yours, because that's how that worked out.
There you go.
You lined them up. I didn't do anything.
I just randomly threw them in there. I didn't do any seating or anything.
That is that's wonderful. This was a lot of fun. And I was actually surprised at how far James Cosmo got.
I kind of was too. I wasn't necessarily expecting that.
No, but some of my favorite Santas, or some of the more popular Santas, it turns out, are big fat jerks. And that's what I think is so fun, that so many of the ones that we remember and like stay within the zeitgeist of Christmas are like Rudolph's Santa, who is the absolute worst Santa Claus. But he's kind of fun in that antithetical way. So
yeah, it's true.
Well, Frank, this was very fun. Thank you so much for being here and for being my friend, as always. Thank you for that $1 million plated gold toilet you gave me for Christmas. I very much appreciate it.
Yeah, I kind of had instant regrets about that, but you're welcome.
Yeah, probably in your bank account, but I'm not giving it back, baby.
Yeah, well, that's the way life goes. No, it was my pleasure. Merry Christmas. Sure.
Frank, where can the people find us?
You can find us at beerwithgeeks.com or at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. If you want to support the whole network, you can do that at patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio. You can also find us anywhere podcasts are found, on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher or Spotify or what have you. You can, of course, rate and review us in all those places, and we really appreciate those ratings and those reviews. They do mean a whole heck of a lot. And you can also subscribe and in all those places, as well as you can find us. You can contact us at beerwithgeeks@gmail.com or at beerwithgeeks on Twitter. Those would be, generally speaking, the best places to get in touch with us.
Fabulous. Frank, thank you so much for being here. As always, thanks for being my friend. Merry Christmas to all of you. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.